This is Whitney, and you're listening to the J-Cast on Jabberlog.
Welcome to Within the Trenches, true stories from the 911 dispatchers who live them.
Hey, what's going on? This is Ricardo with Jabberlog on the J-Cast, and this is going to be a special episode, number 21 of Within the Trenches. And once again, I am here at the Lexington Hotel in Lansing, Michigan, and we're here for the NENA Conference 2013, and this is just one more episode, podcast of the series of episodes that I'm going to be doing here this week. And we're currently in the lobby, so you might be able to hear some people yelling and screaming in the background, but, it's all in good fun. And there's people walking towards us saying, "Oh, quiet, quiet." No, it's fine. It's completely fine. No worries at all. So I have, for this episode, I've got three other people sitting with me. I've got Mike, who is with the St. Joseph County Fire Dispatch in South Bend, Indiana. How's it going, man?
All right. How are you?
I am doing good. And I also have Ron, who is the Executive Director with Kent County Dispatch Authority. How's it going?
It's going wonderful.
All right. Excellent. And then I also have Nancy, who is the Dispatch Operations Manager at St. Joseph County in Indiana. How's it going?
It's going great. How are you?
I am doing good. This has been really good. I'm here doing this and this conference. There was actually another conference that I went to, and it just happened to fit perfectly. In March. Yeah, I think in March. Dispatch, everything starts going together, so I can't think.
True.
But I ended up going to graduate, and because my school is over there, I had to do everything online because I don't have enough time being in dispatch to just go and take off, to sit in a class. So everything I had to do online. So I went and I graduated with my master's in new media journalism, and I had been talking to the administrator of the Cool Kids of 911 on the Facebook page, and he also works for a 911 center over there, and they had this mini-C conference going on. So they asked if I would go, and it just happened that when I was there, I got to go. So, and it was perfect. So now doing it here, it's been even better because when I was there, I was nervous. I was very nervous. But one of the odd things that happened while I was there was the day that I was there, they were doing an active shooter class. And it was an all-day thing on active shooters. Well, as I'm in the middle of one of the episodes, a few of the dispatchers who are running the conference just start hauling butt out. And I started hearing sirens. And my siblings were there with me, helping me with the equipment, and they're looking at me, and I'm looking at everybody else. I was like, I don't know what is going on right now. But then afterwards, they came back. They actually had an active shooter call happen right around the corner from where we were at. Yeah, it was nuts.
Unreal.
But it has been good. So how has everything been for you guys being here this week so far?
We just got here today.
Oh, yeah,
so
you guys just got here. Yeah, that's right. What about you, Ron?
Well, I've had a great time. I think that whenever you come to one of these conferences, the chance to network
right,
and share ideas is just, it's just something you look forward to
right
on a yearly basis. And fortunately, I get to go to a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm always look forward to it. I learned something.
Yeah,
I've been in 911 since 88. But even when I go to these conferences, I
You're
learn
a
new
rookie.
things.
You're a rookie.
I'm thinking not.
So how did you get into it in '88? What brought you into
I was
doing 911?
I was a police officer in south side of Chicago, and our fire chief had gone to a conference and learned about 911. This is before it was common for people to have 911 systems.
Okay.
He came back and told our police chief what a great system it was, and that we should start it. And so they had a meeting of all the command staff of the police department, and I was the junior sergeant. So I got it. They pulled me off a patrol for 2 years and told me to put in 911.
Wow.
That kind of cast the die for me because I became a support services commander and, stayed in 911, and then I ended up running a center after I retired over in Illinois. So
you got into it right away then? It stuck with you, after maybe that first call or stepping into that dispatch center, and it really got you? That's what kept you in?
I don't know. They can chime in here if they want, but to me, 911 is the kind of profession that either you love or you hate.
Right.
I mean, most people don't stay in a center if they're like, oh, yeah, it's okay. If they don't really are not really committed to it, because it's not an easy job to do.
Right.
So you either have to love it, and if you hate it, most people leave. But I don't. In my centers that I had, we didn't have a lot of people kind of wishy-washy. They either liked being there, or they didn't, and they left.
Yeah, this
So-
isn't a job. It's a calling. It's something that you're called to do.
Right.
And you either do it well, like Ron said so eloquently, or you just you're just not cut out for it. There's
Yeah.
a special type of individual that does the type of work that we do.
Right.
And we touch more lives sitting at the console than a lot of officers do their entire careers on the street. If you think of the number of contacts we make versus the ones they make,
Right.
we touch a lot of people.
Yeah.
And you can tell with the individual right away. It's not like it's oh, they're going to learn this and it'll be okay. You can usually tell day one new dispatcher whether or not they're going to work. And it's weird. You develop that third sense,
Yeah.
or sixth sense, excuse me, and you could just tell with some people. Some people it kind of takes you by surprise. Every once in a while you get that, whoa, I didn't see that coming, but.
There's that disturbance in the force.
Exactly. Exactly.
That's usually the boss, I think.
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
you know what I like is we used to hire. I was a dispatch director over in Illinois, and so we would hire people in. And unfortunately, I don't think we learned this until kind of late in the game that you probably need to bring applicants into a center and let them see what you do before you go too far down the selection
True,
process.
right.
We didn't do that, and so we would hire people, and they'd walk in there and go, this is really what you do? I thought we just answered the phone. And they're like, I don't want to do all
story.
this. And so later on, we started doing orientations for applicants where they had to sit in for 2 hours in the center before they could even test, just to make sure they understood what they were getting into, that we actually do work holidays and swing shift.
Oh, yeah.
This wasn't Walmart. And I think that helped us in not having people take the job that really had no clue what they were going to do. So I don't know how you guys do it, but I mean, before we did that, we would hire 4 people and keep maybe 1.
Yeah, we were the same way, and I think that the ride-along program, as I've seen it, that is just really the way to go, and that's the way that we need to migrate. I think that's one of the best ideas out there.
Now, what do you guys? I'm just curious because I've been out of active hiring for a few years. My job at Kent County is an administrator for the county. I'm not a PSAP person per se.
Right.
I mean, they have so much new selection tools out there. I know a lot of people use Critical for their screening for new applicants. You guys use that stuff, or I mean, what's your experience with some of that?
We're funded under the fire department, so our budget is a little more limited. We would love to use Critical because it seems to be a really accurate selection software. We've been using the Professional Pride,
Okay, Sue Pavetta stuff.
Sue
Okay.
Pavetta stuff.
Yeah, well, she's been in the business before I was in the business.
Yeah, her training stuff is pretty top-notch.
Sorry, Sue, but
Yeah.
you were very young when you started. I wasn't.
Sue is not a rookie.
Yeah, no, she's not. And
No,
she
and
wrote
she's
she wrote
awesome.
the first 911 puzzle book.
Oh, okay.
When we started learning what acronyms were, Allie, Annie, that was Sue's book. And I went puzzle. And I feel like sometimes we need to go back to that baseline core competency with some people, because I think a lot of the new people don't understand all the acronyms from old legacy equipment, and we still have those systems in place. But
Right.
Sue is definitely someone that has been a mover and shaker in the industry, no doubt about it.
You talk about core competency. I've taught several dispatchers that have never been taught the acronym symbols.
Really?
I thought that was kind of a basic police dispatch 101 thing.
Yeah.
And some people are not being taught that. I am just astounded.
Well, to back up a little bit, you said is it Critical? Is that what you said?
Yeah, it's Critical. And
For those who don't know what that is, the listeners who would be hearing that, if they've never heard what that is, what exactly is it?
it's funny. I was at the national, I guess it's IE. I don't know, what is it?
IAED.
IAED.
International
International
Academy.
Association of Emergency Dispatch.
The Navigator Conference. Give 'em props.
Okay, there you go.
Okay. But anyway, I was there, and there was a lot of people talking about using Critical. And frankly, I don't know what Critical is, but there were rave reviews about how it really helped them streamline their selection process
Right.
and eliminate the hiring of the wrong people for the job. And thank you. So,
Yeah. For those who can't see what's going on right now, we've got some spectators throwing up some bunny ears, maybe something.
Sure.
making us laugh, but it's a good time.
So I can't tell you exactly how it works, but I've heard at the conference, like I said, a lot of people had said that their hiring selection process had been a lot tighter and a lot more. They've kept more people than they used to keep that were more suited to the job using Critical. So
yeah, it's applicant evaluation software, and it uses things like the applicant's ability to do critical thinking, to deal with mapping and geography.
I gotcha.
So it really
like you really need critical thinking in this job. Right? Yeah.
No, not at all.
Yeah,
Sure.
no.
No, I'm being funny here. Because,
Right. No.
I mean, you guys know how many public safety professionals, I'm talking police, fire, EMS, walk into a center if they're there for a ride along or to an observation and go, I could never do this job.
All of them.
I'm glad you do it because I couldn't do this.
Yeah, there was actually, this was probably a couple of years ago, but we had a really bad thunderstorm that went through. There was wires and trees down everywhere, and it was so crazy in there that we had, I think it was 2 or 3 officers who came in to help us out. And they were just making the calls to get the road commission and everybody out, and they were sitting there just listening to us for a while, and they said the exact same thing. I could never do this. I'm better out on the road. Like, thank you for saying that.
Well, I want you to remember, I live where you dispatch.
Exactly, yeah, and I didn't even know that.
Do not call me if you have one of those occurrences.
Yeah, I'm going to call you.
No, don't do that.
Ron, you got to get in here, man. I know you got the experience. Hook us up, especially because you know the area, because you're in the county.
There you go.
Sounds like a match.
Yeah, exactly. Now, Nancy, how did you get into dispatching? How did you get into the whole 911 services?
Actually,
Yes.
for real. The
Please.
real story?
Yeah, please.
I was selling carpet at the time. I had been in retail flooring for a while. I actually was back in school to get my accounting degree.
Okay.
And switched jobs in the middle of that. And I was talking to a salesperson on the floor, and I said, you know what? I do not want to sell carpet the rest of my life. I want to do something meaningful.
Right.
This isn't what I want. And it just so happened the supervisor of the office that I currently work in was there and said, we're hiring. And I said, well, where's that? And at the time, it was called Clay Dispatch. And just so happened that my roommate at the time was a police dispatcher for our county. And I said, really? I'm all in. I am all in. Let's do
awesome.
this. Yeah. So I took a $30,000 a year pay cut. When I started in December 1st, 1989, we were paid $3.35 an hour.
Oh, man.
Yeah. So, but the rest is history.
Yeah.
I don't regret a thing.
No, that's great. When I was working in Florida, I got my start in Florida in a small town. No one has ever heard of it. It's called Frostproof. And every time I say it, they're like, what? Like, yeah, I know. You've never heard of it, but it's in Central Florida. That's where I started. And in the first episode of this whole thing, I ended up talking about how I got my job. Now, when I had gone in, I went in to talk to the chief and the lieutenant. And I had never done anything like this before. All I had was retail experience. I had managed a couple stores. That was it. And I had actually gone to visit my mom for a couple weeks, which turned into a couple of months. And she says, maybe you should just go and get a job. I'm like, okay, Mom. But I couldn't find anything. And my cousin's husband knew the chief of police, and they were hiring. And I said, I don't think I can do that at all. So finally I said, fine, I'll go and check it out, see what happens. Well, during my interview, the chief and the lieutenant are there, and the chief says, do you have any skeletons in your closet? And I said, well, what do you mean? And he says, you know what I mean. I said, no, not that I can think of. Well, I stole a car once. And he
that was the answer they were looking
exactly,
for. Exactly.
Yeah, I was like, ha,
perfect.
You guys aren't laughing? And they said, the chief said, are you serious? And I said, well, yeah, I did. However, I was just a co-signer on the car, so it was a civil situation. The police in the city had told me I could go ahead and get the car if I needed to get it, but I couldn't get any help from them. So that's how it went. But it took 2 months before I finally got my answer for the job. The chief showed up. I thought that I screwed the whole thing up with my trying to be bold and do this joke with them. And the chief shows up and he says, do you still want the job? And I said, yeah, of course. Of course I want the job. He's like, all right, come in at 10 o'clock. You're working the midnight shift. Yeah.
A lot of training here, right?
Yeah. It was just like that. The person that I sat with, he said, all right, You're just going to see me, do a couple calls, take a couple calls, and then it's all you. And you're kidding, right? And he says, no, it'll be fine. You'll be fine. And that's how it was. I sat there and I watched, and then that was it. It was my turn. So I'm glad it's different now. The training there's a lot more to it. I've heard a lot of people saying that it's really now it's a profession. People are really looking at it that way, which is great.
Yeah, but don't you think that we do a really poor job of promoting it as a profession? We know it's a profession.
Right.
But I mean, can you imagine the days when we go into a school for career day and you see the poster with the cop in his uniform looking all sharp, high and tight?
Yes.
And then you see the paramedics in their uniform looking all high and tight, and then the firefighters in their bunker gear looking rugged.
I know.
But what if we had
about us?
What if we had that fourth booth that said, "And some heroes wear headsets," and there's a dispatcher standing there?
That's what I'm talking about.
That's what we need to do, is recruit for this profession, because it is unlike police, fire, or medical. It's its
Right.
own individual profession.
And I don't want to really argue this, because I believe that we're getting more professional.
Right.
But I'm going to tell you, one of the things that troubles me is that in our own industry, I'm not talking about other industries telling us what we should do. My problem is that our own industry, and I'm talking telecommunication, that 911 dispatch, has not admitted or has not recognized that to be a true profession, you need a standard body of knowledge that everybody knows. They're trained to the same standard. And, I'm on the Denise Amber Lee Foundation down in Florida.
I was just going to say
And one of our
that,
big missions is to have standardized baseline 911 training throughout the United States. I mean, in Illinois, where I came from, we require training for tanning salon operators, barbers, beauty salons, but we don't require any training for certification of a 911 dispatcher.
Wow.
And until we do that, and that seminal step starts setting the tone for professionalism, ongoing training, quality assurance of the job we do.
Right.
That's what really makes your profession. You can say, well, this is a profession, but we need to, as an industry, step up and do the right things so that people across the country, when they call 911, they get the same basic level of service.
Right.
And one of the things I'm happy about NAED is doing is talking about protocols.
Right.
I mean, standard ways to handle calls every single time. Because right now, and when I was a NENA officer, I said this in a Reader's Digest article, that sometimes calling 911 is like rolling the dice. You don't know the level of training you're getting of the operator, and your life sometimes are in their hands. And to me, if we're really a profession, then we as an industry need to take up this whole issue of standardized training, quality assurance, following protocols, doing it professionally every single call. Because I'll tell you, if you went on an airplane tomorrow, the FAA's traffic controllers run every airport the same way, and that's why planes fly safely. If we had the success rate, of the aircraft industry in 911 and didn't have calls like they happen, like Denise Amber Lee and other ones,
Right.
but to me, that's part of the issue. So I don't disagree that we're getting more professional and more states are adopting those, but we need this to be a national mandate to step up to the plate, and then we can stand with those other three disciplines and say we are professionals.
Right.
I mean, that's my opinion, anyways.
Well, no, I don't disagree with you, Ron. I think it's kind of a chicken or an egg thing. Do we declare we're professionals and then set the standards? To set the standards, we're already in this.
Right.
And I absolutely agree with you. Everybody should be trained to the same standards. It doesn't matter if you are from frostproof. I didn't know frostproof, frostbite. I wasn't sure. It was kind
Cheese poof.
Yeah, Cheese Puff, Florida.
Yeah, that one place.
That's going to be the next remote that he does.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what center you're from. And we have to stand up as an industry and start pushing back against these people that say there's no money to train.
Right.
We train police officers, firefighters, and paramedics, and they're trained to a specific standard as an industry. And that exact same thing needs to be here. And money needs to stop being an issue. That's the first budget that gets cut, is the 911 budget or the training budget in 911. And we have to find a way to make that stop.
Right.
I agree.
Now, Mike,
Hi.
how did you get into 911? So we've gotten everybody so far. Now it's your turn, my friend.
Oddly enough, this is going to sound cliche, I wanted to be a cop.
Ah,
However, in the state of
I can
Michigan,
understand.
in the state of Michigan, you have to be 21.
Okay.
When I decided this, I was only a sophomore in high school,
Uh-huh.
and obviously that was a few years off.
Right. Just a little bit.
So I decided, well, you know what'll be even better is if I'm cross-trained. I'm sure that'll give me some marketability. So I became an EMT.
Right.
I went through my career tech academy through the high school that I went to, and joined up my junior year with the local ambulance service.
Uh-huh.
Started out on their mobility,
Okay.
and actually ramped up to dispatcher.
Uh-huh.
And actually, when I started on the mobility car, started getting interested in dispatch. Had a couple of really great tutors to this day that really helped kind of shape what a dispatcher is supposed to do in my mind.
Right.
And anyway, would let me come and, you know, click stuff in the CAD and things like that. And then it became, okay, we'll let you talk on the radio just a little bit. And it became then, you know, oh, I need you to dispatch that call. You want me to do what? Anyway, 13 years later,
Right.
I'm an EMD, been EMD certified 13 years. I've changed centers a few times in that, and that ended up at St. Joseph County about 4 years ago almost now.
You remember the first call you ever took?
It was actually all I remember is a transfer call from the county, and I panicked. I hadn't gone through EMD yet. That's when things were a little more loose, you know.
Right.
And they had just both dispatchers, both of my mentors went out on a smoke break, if you will. And anyway, they were like, hey, you got this. You know what you're doing. Next thing I know, phone rings. I'm like, what do I do? Answer it.
Right.
I had that deer in the headlights look. It was bad, but that's all I remember is it was nothing. It was absolutely, you know, a stub toe call essentially. And I
was going to say, you said you don't remember. Did you black out?
I think I may have. I don't, but I mean, it was simple, stupid, run of the mill, you know, nothing call. And, but I absolutely loved it. And
Awesome.
I've also I've done all sides, police, fire, EMS.
Uh-huh.
I never became a fully certified officer, but I did become a reserve officer.
Cool.
And also firefighter, EMT, still currently licensed. But dispatch is my passion. This is what I do.
That's great.
And it's nice to be able to have that to explain to my fellow coworkers who haven't worked that other side of the microphone. Well, why are they doing that? Well, this is why.
Yeah, exactly. And that's one of the main reasons I wanted to do this show as well, is because a lot of people don't understand what we do. They don't get why we put them on hold. They don't know. They don't understand us. So by us talking and sharing these stories, the public can understand us more. And then everybody else who's listening in our field can learn from, you know, everything that we're talking about. Do you remember any of the calls that you took, Nancy?
What are you trying to say?
No, nothing.
You trying to say I'm old?
No, not at all.
You're right. Do I remember any of the calls I took in the last 23 years?
Or maybe one of the very first ones when you first got in there.
Yeah, okay. I am old. No, actually. Pretty much my recollection is kind of gone to the worst ones that I've taken. So,
okay.
You know, you take some funny ones here and there.
Right.
I did take one probably about halfway in between starting and now. Somebody called 911. My house got struck by lightning and my baby is dead. Go, how old is your baby? Is she awake? No. Is she breathing? No. And we go through the entire protocol. The fire department responds. It was her Doberman Pinscher that was laying in front of the electrical outlet.
Oh, no.
So her baby was dead, but it wasn't a human baby. So.
Now, did you find that out right away?
No.
Or it wasn't until the end?
Nope, wasn't until the end. Wasn't until the responders arrived.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, so we didn't. No.
Wow. I had something, not kind of similar. Ron's cracking up over there. I took a domestic call once, and every time I told the story, I always say right away, no domestic is funny. I'm not making fun of a domestic call. But this one in particular, the couple was arguing. They were split apart. There was no, it wasn't physical. It was all verbal, and I kept hearing kind of like a crying in the background, and my caller, he kept saying, "Oh, you'll be okay. It's okay." And I said, "What's wrong?" And he says, "Well, my girl is crying." And I said, "Oh, how old is your daughter?" Well, the conversation actually had gone between him and I for a little while, me thinking that this was his daughter. And it was just like that. It was actually his dog that was crying. And and so I'm feeling like a fool afterwards. I didn't know what to say. One of my coworkers is sitting right next to me, is like trying not to laugh. And I'm like, you better stop. Quit. You're laughing over there.
Dude, can you get the visual of put your hands in the center of the chest, right between the nipples, push down from what? You're going through the CPR protocol on a dog.
Yes.
And I don't think that's where you do CPR on a dog.
I can't find that on Cujo. What the heck?
Yeah, especially if you say, put your hands in the center of the chest, right between the nipples. Which ones?
Right.
It's a dog.
Oh, right.
Well, I had that same experience, except she's crying, oh, my baby. Okay, how old is your baby? 35. Madam, he's not a baby, no. You may think so. You may coddle him that way. Not the case.
Right.
And then we had the case of the elderly gentleman called 911.
Careful here.
Yeah, he was about your age. As I remember, he looked kind of like you.
Okay.
Handsome devil you. Called 911 and what's the address of the emergency? What's the telephone number you're calling from? Okay, tell me exactly what happened. I'm hungry. You could hear crickets. Said, oh, really?
Tumbleweed.
Okay. What would you like to eat? I'd like a salad and 2% milk. Okay. So we sent the ambulance service with the salad and 2% milk to this gentleman's house because we saw that as an opportunity to maybe find out if this gentleman was properly being cared for.
Oh,
so those
good
funny
call.
ones, huh?
Good call.
See, but
Very
that's
nice.
what we do in 911.
Right.
To make sure he was properly being taken care of and that his needs were being met.
Very nice.
Sometimes, yeah, I know.
Well, I know where I'm going when I'm hungry.
That's right.
St. Joe, here I come.
St. Joe County Fire Dispatch and Drive-Through.
Yep, there you go.
See, now I have a little different play of this. Obviously, I was not a telecommunicator. But in the old days, and I was a cop in 1972, in the old days, so I wanted to make sure that you knew that I was much in this a lot longer than you were. In the old days, when the telecommunicator, which was called the dispatcher back then,
Right.
would take their lunch break, they would fill in with an officer. So I remember the first time this happened to me, I think it was on the midnight shift, it was on the day shift, and I had to fill in for the dispatch. I knew the sergeant usually do it because they got them off the road for an hour, and then they could do what they wanted to do. But this particular day, they asked me to go in and do it. So I sit down, and this is when the microphone still hung on a big, microphone from the wall. It wasn't a little microphone or a headset, and he had a regular phone, and he had teletype machines to send your leads message in, which is you're checking a plate. He didn't run it on a computer because we didn't have computers.
Right.
He did a teletype and ran it through the teletype machine, and it came back like that. So that was a long time ago. Anyways,
Complete with sound effects.
I know. Excellent sound effects. I dig it.
this
I think it's a
particular
file clear there.
anyway, this particular morning, I get a call from a lady that's reporting her lawn stolen.
Her lawn was stolen.
Her lawn was stolen.
Oh, I have
She
to
said,
know.
my lawn is stolen, and I need to see an officer. And I'm thinking, I'm first day on the desk. This is some guy went home, told his wife to call up the station and report something stupid so that I would, fall for it. So I asked her, really, your lawn was stolen? Yes. And also 2 bushes were stolen. And I want to talk to an officer. Okay. So I dispatch it out. And, of course, they come back, what? I said, lawn was stolen. How was that done? I don't know. Ask her. She says her lawn was stolen and 2 bushes. So they go over there.
Yeah.
And actually what happened, somebody came in the night and stole her sod. They had laid new sod, and they came and rolled it up and took it.
Somebody actually did take it.
Yeah, it was really a
took
really
her
good call.
lawn.
Oh,
It was a real
man.
call. But that was my first call.
So after that, did they have a yard sale?
Yeah. they did.
Doo-doo.
Ouch.
Yeah. And this was way before 911, of course. This is, back in, I guess they had 911 then, but we didn't have 911.
Oh, that's interesting. But, that also goes, that doubles as when we take a call, no matter how crazy it may sound or like that, someone saying my lawn was stolen, we always have to take it serious.
Absolutely.
No matter what.
Right.
No matter
What would be the proper call code card for NAED for a lawn stolen? See, I'm thinking you don't have one of those.
You got me. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Can you send in a proposal for change for that, please?
Well, actually, I
Send
did
an
bring
email.
this when Eric Perry was doing the police protocols.
no. God, love that guy.
I did call him up and say that I had looked at your cards, and he was missing 2 specific cards that I knew were problems, and one was a lawn stolen. So,
What was the other one? Do I want to know that? Can this be aired?
Yeah, it was. Like, it's kind of like the call when you get, like, where I was from in Chicago. That a lot of times people call up and say he be acting a fool.
Oh, yeah.
And that doesn't mean that he's beating them up, and it doesn't mean that there's a fight, and it doesn't mean that he's acting funny. It just means, like, generally anything that they wanted the police to come for.
In medical, that'd be Protocol 25, I think.
He'd be acting a fool?
Psych card?
Yeah.
Oh, no, they weren't psyche at all.
The 96
He was acting
card.
the fool. Oh, definitely.
I'm digging on the jive.
That would be our, Nancy, that would be our equivalent of he done fell out.
Oh,
the first time before that phrase became popular, did
Uh-huh.
any of you folks struggle with that? How many of your dispatchers said, fell out of what? Fell out of window? This matters in protocol.
Yep.
I was warned about it in EMT school. You will come across somebody that says they done fell out, and you're going to probably go, out of what?
Yeah.
One night, 2 a.m., call for, guy who passed out, get there. He done fell out. Of what, madam? What do
Now,
you mean he fell?
seriously, you say madam?
Yeah.
Madam?
No way.
Instead of ma'am?
Yes.
Oh, interesting.
It is.
That's
They
a new
don't.
one
They
for
don't.
me.
They don't get offended when you say madame.
I don't put that kind of a...
Wow.
One of the things that screwed me up when I first started working in Allegan was I took a phone call, and this guy, I was asking him where he lived, and he was telling me the address. I asked for his cross street. He did not know his cross street. However, he did know that his house was next to the cop shop. But when he said it the first time, he said it fast. He said, I live right next to the cop shop. I said, to the what? I said, where do you live next to? He says, the cop shop. He said, say that slower. He says, the cop shop. Now, I had never heard this before. So I am looking in the business directory and I'm looking all over the place for something called the cop shop because I had never heard that before. And I said, what is this place? What kind of business is it? He says, are you serious? And I said, yeah. And he says, the sheriff's department. I said, oh, like the police department. That's the cop shop. And he said, yeah. So luckily, I think actually someone ended up QAing that call too. I got all my points for it, but they got a nice laugh out of it.
That's the one you want pulled, too. The one where you sound like a complete idiot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, this guy's a fool. He doesn't know what the cop shop is.
So you work at Allegan.
Yes.
And I don't know, these folks wouldn't know that, but the Allegan that we live and work in is the only Allegan in the entire world.
Really?
Really?
Their website is it's like one and only Allegan, or only Allegan, only one Allegan. That's what onlyoneallegan.com. If you run it, it will not come up anywhere else.
Really?
It's a word they made up
Wow.
years ago, and
Like Saugatuck?
I think Saugatuck is other places.
Oh, I was
Really?
going to say, it sounds like a made-up word. I love
Yeah.
the place.
Oh, anyway, Allegan is. So, and I did.
That's interesting. I didn't know
I
that.
don't know if you knew that because you worked
No, I
there.
didn't.
But when I moved there, they told me that. Of course, I had to Google it,
Uh-huh.
and that's all that comes up. It's pretty interesting.
See, I grew up in Allegan County. I lived in Fenville, and I work in the
Crane's
county.
Pie Pantry.
Great winery.
Yes.
Better pies.
Yeah,
Yeah, can you tell dispatchers like food and drink?
we do. No, I work there, but I don't live there. I live in the neighboring county. And people always ask, they're like, why do you drive so far to get to work? And my wife says this all the time, so I have to credit her for being the one to say this, but ignorance is bliss. I'd rather not know what's going on.
So what county
where
do you
I
live in?
I live in Ottawa.
Oh, you live in Holland.
I live in Zeeland, actually. Yeah.
Zealand,
Nice.
the tulip capital of the world.
You got it. Yeah, so...
I actually asked Ottawa Dispatch today why they built such a hardened center when all they protected is tulips. But actually, they don't.
I was
That's a
gonna
great.
say-
Holland's a beautiful city, and so is that. I mean, Ottawa's a nice county.
if you pick a tulip, that's like $500.
yeah, well, they got
really?
10,000.
Yeah,
Seriously?
That's yeah. There was a guy who was, I think it was an OWI. He went right through 2 sections of tulips, and I remember it was in the newspaper, and it was a huge bill. It was a huge fine because it's like $500 for just one.
So, and this has nothing to do with dispatch. So, what is Holland unique for besides tulips?
Breweries now.
No, they actually have. Actually, their sidewalks downtown and streets are heated.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
They
Yeah.
melt the snow. They don't
Yep.
just shovel them. It's pretty
That's
cool.
right.
Yep. 8th Street.
How do we get that kind of work? That's nice. Well,
I
that
know.
kind of sidewalk. That's
Just turn
nice.
on the thing. I shovel the sidewalk.
That would be nice, but
Now you bring up distance to work and living in a different county.
Yeah.
Now I have the same situation. I live in Michigan. However, I work in St. Joseph County.
Oh, how long is your drive?
13 minutes.
Oh.
No one. Everybody's like,
yeah, you were going to feel sorry for
I know,
him,
I
weren't
was.
you? They almost bit.
For about 2-3 years, most of my coworkers do. Oh, it's so far for you. Don't worry about coming in, or don't worry, we'll be fine in a storm.
Nice.
Do you realize I'm 13 minutes out?
Did you actually tell them, or did you like?
Yeah,
I'm
that's
gonna
the
take
thing.
the time.
He
I
told
didn't
them, no, don't worry about it. I'm coming in. He was,
I'm dedicated.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he milked that for all it was worth.
The hero. He's coming in to help us out.
It took about 2 years before everybody figured out, really, you are close. No, you're not off the hook anymore.
Nobody was making you baked goods or anything no more.
No.
They took it all back.
They still make goods. It's weird. I don't know. Usually they make me grill, though.
Grilling is fun.
That's
which
his,
is okay.
that's his penance for milking that. You're the grill master now, dude. That's it. That's how we roll.
Gotta love the afternoon watch.
What were you going to say, Ron?
I forgot.
We're getting to the age where that happens.
Oh, my goodness.
That's funny. Well, on that note, this is going to be the wrap-up for episode number 21. Thank you very much, all three of you, for joining me on this episode. This was a good time. And for anybody listening, as always, you can email the show, the JCast, at thejabberlog.com. You can follow us on Twitter at Jabberlog. And everything will be posted up on thejabberlog.com. And also make sure to like us on Facebook. We got a new Facebook page. It's facebook.com/Within the Trenches podcast. And one more email. This is the one that Whitney usually sends from, and that one is wttpodcast@gmail.com. Have a good one.
You just listened to Within the Trenches on the JCast. If you have any questions or would like to be a guest on the show, send an email to the JCast at thejabberlog.com.